would take for Trevor Lawrence at #1? Think big picture now.
Listen, yeah, big picture, there's always a deal to be had, Jenna. In this situation, there's only one. That's Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is the only thing that makes sense. Anything else is irrelevant. Like, you got to think about, these positions. These positions aren't created equal. The quarterback is the most important part to a team in my eyes. Because if you don't have a guy that can come and lead the way, if you don't have a guy that can manage your offense, then you're in for a tough year. You're in for a tough run. Whatever you are, if you're a general manager, head coach, you need somebody that can come in and lead the way. Defensively, it's hard to have a top 5 defense. It's hard to run the ball in the National Football League. That's a recipe for success. But if you don't have that and you have a quarterback, then you have a chance. So you have your opportunity in Jacksonville with Trevor Lawrence. We're talking about a guy who won 41 games in a row in high school. Then he went to college and did the same thing. And now we're here. This is the moment. You got this moment to take your guy. You don't miss out on this. You got to do that. So what Trent Baalke is doing is absolutely right, Coach. He can't take no calls, man, unless it's Patrick Mahomes.
And I love you, Brandon, but you got a better chance of getting hit by lightning on a shark than having Patrick Mahomes traded to Jacksonville for the first overall
pick.
Of
course.
It's one of these situations where if you really believe that this is your guy, that this is going to be your franchise quarterback, then you stay put. And look at what San Francisco did. They believe that the third best guy, if you say the draft boards are right, is their opportunity to have a franchise quarterback, and they were willing to trade away a significant amount of their future draft picks in order to get that opportunity. Now, the flip side of it is when I was in New York in 1997, when we didn't love the quarterback class, and we weren't very good at the time. We were coming off a 1-15 season. It was with Bill Parcells, and we traded back. And that was a situation where the money that you had to pay the overall #1 draft pick was ridiculous, and then we just didn't feel like the player that we could get there was going to be worth what we had to pay him, and what we would give up in the opportunity to get more players.
So, Coach, if you could get in the DeLorean, I think the Orlando Pace went #1, and Parcells turned that into 7 picks overall. If you could get into the DeLorean and go back, would you keep the #1 pick if it was your call and build around Orlando Pace and sort of have like a great line there?
If I could get in the DeLorean, I would go back and I would do everything humanly possible to recruit Peyton Manning to come out earlier than he did. And that Peyton goes #1 overall the next year, and he was thinking about coming out. It would have been a full court press recruiting day in and day out to get him to come out. And then, yeah, of course you keep the #1 draft pick and you draft him. In terms of trading back at that point, I don't think we got significant value at all. We got a 3rd, a 4th, and a 7th to move back. But at that point, the money, it's hard to appreciate how much money you had to pay those young, unproven guys. And if you got it wrong up in the top part of the draft, you were in trouble for a long time financially. So what Bill Parcells is thinking is, okay, I'll go get some more picks, but I'm also going to free up, $30, $40, $50 million to improve the team in other ways too. So I get it from that perspective completely.
You guys also got Potsy in that draft. And if you know who James Ferrier is, one of the smartest, most headiest, most amazing linebackers that you could have gotten in a draft as a player. So that worked out pretty well. I'm with you on this, Coach. Brandon Marshall was talking about how you can't be a GM if you say some of the things I was saying on the show yesterday. And I'm glad that you allowed for the world to see that Brandon Marshall should be kept very, very far away from a GM seat in a franchise building, all right? The point of this is there is always a price tag on any single commodity that is available. And it isn't just Patrick Mahomes. Look at what happened with the Ricky Williams situation. That was a whole lot of moving parts to get things done. In fact, it impacted my draft. I ended up going with Chris Samuels. We went 2 and 3. If you're telling me that you can end up getting a 2nd and a 3rd overall pick in the draft and get multiple first-round draft picks moving forward, you can build a team. You should build your team historically
Who are you
through
gonna
the
take?
draft.
Who are you going to take?
It doesn't
Who are you gonna
matter.
take?
It doesn't matter. If you have
It does
enough
matter when you
number-
have a
Here's why it
quarterback in
matters.
Trevor Lawrence.
Here's
This
why-
isn't.
here's-
This isn't. We're not
here's
talking
why it
about Zach
matters.
Wilson. We're not talking about Justin Fields.
Here's why it matters.
We're talking
There
about
are
a
some-
kid.
There are
Tell me
some
why it
really,
matters.
There are some really elite football players in this year's draft. You can get a quality quarterback if you wanted a quarterback, but more importantly, you could build your offensive line. You could build your defensive side of the ball.
Who's
There are
throwing the
some real
ball?
elite-
Who's throwing the ball?
If you're
You need a
building through the
quarterback. I had
draft, you
17
can get,
quarterbacks in the
you
National
can get a
Football
serviceable
League.
quarterback if you're able to build the rest of your team out through the draft.
I had 17 quarterbacks, and I'm telling you, if you got an opportunity to draft someone like a Trevor Lawrence,
I will not disagree with that. I will not disagree with that. But if I can get multiple first-round draft picks, I'm taking that, Coach Mangini.
But LeVar, you could have gotten multiple first-round draft picks. San Francisco is willing to give up multiple first-round draft picks to go to 3. So you probably could have even gotten more than that if you were willing to go to 1. But to Brandon's point, if you believe this is the guy, then you have to take him. And like San Francisco did, if they believe they can go get their guy, you've got to give up whatever it takes to go get him as well. Because living in a world without a quarterback, as we all know, and we've all experienced at different points in our career, it's miserable. And then living in a place where you have a quarterback like I did with Tom Brady, it's fantastic because you know every single season you've got a chance to compete for a championship because of the guy who is going to control the ball 100% of the time on offense.
So you wouldn't give it up for
Brady's
4,
a great example. If you can't get the top pick, get the 199th pick. You're going to be golden. Let's take a turn because it was a great night in baseball last night. Wilds has the weird and wonderful, but will it top this? Will it top this, Wilds? D-backs got a win. They swept the Reds, and then they celebrated with a total quintessential Jenna Wolf dance. I love it so much. KW, though, didn't make your cut. What do you got?
Oh, we're moving on to the weird. Mariners at Red Sox. Nick Pivetta pitched a good game. He's like, that's a strike, right? Like, umpire's like, no, dude. Come back. He's like, oops. This is always a savvy move from a batter. When you think you're going to get a walk, start walking. You rarely see it from a pitcher. Good job, Nick. If I was an umpire, I'd be like, you know what? Just go ahead. You're so far down the line. I don't want to make it a big deal. Moving on to the wonderful. Mets, Cubs, Sean Reed Foley. You know what Jenna always says? You don't need weights to get in shape. You can just do calisthenics, a lot of squats, do some burpees. There you go. Sean Reed Foley. Now, do I recommend working out and doing deep squats while you're pitching? Not necessarily. Should be mostly before a game or ideally after the game, maybe on your off day. So right idea, probably wrong time. And moving on to the weird. Diamondbacks at Reds. Oh, Suarez hits a bomb. The ball